Today we're going to be putting together the 42-gallon dual tumbler composter from Genesis. Here's all of our parts. Alright, so you're going to see a couple of arrows right here and right here. That's your first piece, and it slides in like that. Nuts and bolts are all the same, so I'm just going to use this little 5/16 deep well socket to back it up with, and then my trusty electric screwdriver. And I got the first piece on here. Got to use my backup. Same thing. All the other pieces are identical. It's not real hard getting them to fit, but as you put it together, you may want to put screws in, bolts in as you go, because just kind of keeps it in place. It's not hard to put together at all, but just awkward because it's very flexible. And I am going to go around and back up all these nuts too, because once you get this thing full of compost, you don't ever want to be digging around in there trying to find one of your nuts. So I'm going to back it up here. And I'm just backing them up from the back side for a little insurance, make sure I didn't leave anything loose. And also, you get a little bit more torque on the back side than you do with the screwdriver on the front side, My high school shop teacher had the perfect name for a shop teacher. It was Mr. Macon. He was always making something, so worked out just right. Okay, at this point we're going to put our divider in, our separator. Goes right in the middle like this. So it may not ever fit exactly like you think it should. It's kind of awkward. Starting to look like a compost bin. The farther you get along with it, the easier it is to fit the stuff up, because it starts to build up some structural rigidity, and it's actually quite sturdy when it's all put together. So basically, at some point, you'll probably just want to have a handful of bolts and get them all put in for each panel, and then come back and tighten them all at once. It starts to go pretty quick as it moves along. Okay, so the last piece on the top just slides up underneath this. You don't have to unbolt this. The way that it's made, I couldn't do it with just one hand while I recorded, but just clips in there, and there it is. Quite sturdy. Sliding this rod through the center will be a two-handed job, because you'll have to guide it through the center divider. It doesn't line up exactly right, but it lines up good enough. You can fight it through there. And now we'll get our stand put together. Okay, this part all snaps together with just these built-in little connections here. So I have to slide that together, which will end up looking like that, and then the other part on the top gives you that shape right there. So these bolts are in a bag by themselves, and this is just the little plugs that are going to go in each side of this tube coming out the end. This is what our stand looks like, all put together. A couple holes in the top where these bolts will go. There's bolt holes in this, which will set right on that. And it winds up looking like that. Now this is a aircraft style lock nut, which means it's going to be kind of hard to turn. And the bolt's a little longer than it needs to be, really. So you may want to get a deep well socket and crank it from the bottom side, from the nut side, rather than from the top side. And the reason is what I was saying earlier about how I like to go back and tighten everything up from the nut side, because you're going to get the connection between a socket and a nut is more secure than the connection between a cruciform screwdriver and a screw. So, and we have some leftover screws, which worked out well because some of them had kind of a buildup of the protectant that wouldn't allow the driver to go down in there. But we had plenty. We had enough to work and some left over. Okay, so here it is all put together. The spot I chose is about 20 feet from our house. And first thing we're going to put in it is some potato peelings, and it looks like an eggshell. There we go.
You want this in there?
We've officially
Or are you going to grind it up?
started composting.
Think.
And then I guess every so often you come out and give it a spin. I haven't really read the directions, but you know, if you're going to do it, you definitely want to learn about composting. Make sure you're doing it the right way. Okay, so I mentioned earlier that you might want to put some lubricant here where this is going to spin, because there's no bushing or bearing there. A couple of different ways you could do it. I mean, you could spray it down before you put it in to make it install easier. This slides back and forth on the shaft, so you could push it that way. Use some kind of biodegradable oil like olive oil or something like that, or probably just a dry silicone spray. Spray it here, then pull it over and roll it, and might help this last a little longer. I also wanted to mention something about the divider. You notice this has two doors, and it's a good feature because what you can do is start out putting stuff in here, and when you get that full, then you can switch and start using this one. While you're filling this one up, this one is cooking and you know, getting the process farther along. So that's a nice feature. And then if it looks like you're going to be needing a larger one, these are very reasonably priced. So you could buy two of them, and taking this center part out would be as simple as just, you know, removing some of the panels and taking it back out. I can already feel some heat in there, and I've only put a few things in there, so I think this is going to work really well for us. And when it comes time to empty it, you know, you can just roll this down, open your doors, and it'll empty out. I'm going to use this cement mixing trough to catch mine when I get ready to bring the compost out and use it. So I hope this was helpful to you in some way, and you'll think about giving me a thumbs up and possibly subscribing to my channel. Thank you. Okay, so a lot of people are probably saying, well, where's the cat today? The cat's always around. Well, so there's a hawk in the neighborhood, and when the hawk is around, she becomes very nervous and doesn't want to be out in the open at all. So pretty much all day today she's been like jetting around between anything that she can get underneath. You can see right now she's still pretty worried right now. Not comfortable here recording her either.